Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eighth episode of the Stack to E podcast. This is your host, as always, Manoj, and today we have with us Arun, who's a lead consultant at Ajira Tech, and we are going to be talking about a particularly tricky multi-tenant system that Arun and his team developed for a business process management system. And hey, welcome, Arun, and would you like to introduce yourself? Also, talk a bit about what Ajira does and also what you're doing at Ajira, and then we can start.
Hey Manoj, thank you for having me in your podcast. Uh, yeah, so I have been with Ajira for the past couple of years, but been in the industry for about 13 years. So Ajira has their own product called Casa, which does targeted marketing. It really helps you in creating smart campaigns based on a lot of ML and AI that runs behind it. And it also has its own software development division. Which is the major constituent of what we do in Ajira, and I am a part of that team. So we kind of help a lot of our customers try solve their very kind of complex engineering problems. And yeah, I was thinking of sharing one such experience that I was having with Ajira while working with our customers.
Great. So I heard that you are trying to build a business process management system, and that was the tricky part of it was with handling the multi-tenant part of it, and you chose Camunda and so on. So it was very interesting to read a bit about it. So before we go into the tech details of it and what the challenges were, can you explain what the exact business problem was? And obviously it was business process management, but some more details into what it was. Yeah.
Sure. So, just to correct you, we were not really trying to build a business process management. One philosophy that we follow in Ajira is never rebuild the wheel. If you have one, reuse it and try to customize. So, what we were trying, so we are working for a customer who is essentially building a service delivery platform. So, by service delivery, like if you're talking about a huge enterprise, you could probably have multiple needs of the enterprise. Like for example, they are starting a project and they want to have an S3 bucket to be created, or onboarding of a user and stuff like that. So all of this involves a bunch of processes, and it could be a process which is related to cloud, managing the cloud, installing it into provisioning your systems and stuff like that. So the whole idea was to make it into a zero touch environment wherein uh, the processes that is typically done are all automated by the system. And from an end user perspective, you get an Amazon or a Flipkart like experience when you want to leverage one of the services from the delivery platform. So that's what we were trying to build for them. You could say an e-commerce in an enterprise world. So when you talk about enterprise world, then we are going to talk about a number of workflows and approval flows over there. So for example, now let's say there's a new project that is starting up and they need a Jenkins server, for example. So that would essentially mean that you create an EC2 instance, install Jenkins in it, and then you give back the information to the end user. But when you want to do that, you basically have to get the approval from your manager, your architect probably, and then the finance department, because it involves money. And ultimately, if everyone approves, then you kind of go and start creating those resources. So the creation of resources is all automated, but the process of workflow needs to go through people because people need to look into it. This was the part that we thought of bringing into the overall system. And the way we wanted to do it was to make it into a stand by to leverage a standard that is available in the market, right? So BPM and 2.0, or business process management notation 2.0, is one of the standards that is available in the market, which helps you in defining a platform independent workflow. Workflow. Okay, so we basically wanted to take some of the workflows that they have as a part of their existing systems and use it in ours, so that the approval flow is kind of mimicked from whatever they have into ours. That's the whole idea behind this integration that we were looking at.
Yeah, that gives a good enough context for me around BPM and what you were trying to solve. And I do know that you finally chose Camunda. So could you give a view into what were the different tools or frameworks that you evaluated, and then why did you finally focus on Camunda?
Sure.
And is it
Um,
Camunda? How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, it is Camunda, I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
we have always called it Camunda. I hope it is right.
Okay.
So we did take a look into JBPM, which is one of the oldest player in the market, but we somehow felt it had too many controls in it, and it was really complex. The philosophy behind JBPM was again to make it as less developer. The intervention of developers that are required to use a JBPM would be less. It would be more user driven kind of a thing, which was not really working for us because we had to integrate it along with our existing system, and we needed a lot of customizations, possibility of customizing the overall thing into our application. So we were not really going with JBPM over there, and it was also bundled with JBoss, and we were not very happy about the memory footprint that we are going to have. The
I
other
have a
thing,
quick question here. Sorry to
yeah.
cut you. So the whole, so at least in my mind, I don't know a lot about the official use cases around BPMN, but I would think at least a lot of it is around ensuring that users can drive a lot of it, right? So when you say JPPM is uh, too complex, yeah, complexity is one side of it, but it has too much of ability to customize or use it from the user perspective and not from a developer perspective. Wouldn't we be siding towards more towards the user side than the developer side? That was my initial understanding of it from what I try to do a bit of research on what you were doing. So why would you say that that makes it a negative aspect of JBPM apart from the complexity side of things?
So
I think I'm missing some point there, so
I
that's
get
what
it.
I wanted to clarify.
So the most important thing that we were looking at was the ability for us to customize the system, and not really into. So we were not really giving them a business process management system. We were only trying to leverage whatever was already defined from them, or give them basic abilities to define workflows and then use it as a part of our system. Customization was really the king when it comes to choosing the BPMN system. JBPM was, we felt that it was not really that easy to do it, or we felt Camunda was much more easier in terms of customizations. If you actually take a look into our work, the overall workflow that we are looking at, it is mostly approval processes. It is not any complex business process management process wherein you define multiple processes and then communication between those and stuff like that. Most of it is like linear in nature, and we really did not require an overload of all those features as a part of the platform. That was one of the major things. And so generally when you have too many features, it also makes it really confusing, and our needs were kind of minimal, and we thought it was not really a good fit for us. So if you actually open the JBPM thing, you will have so many icons and drag and drop things, and it is, I mean, we really felt it confusing to start with, especially when I was new to the BPM world, and that was the first thing that I looked at. I kind of got overwhelmed.
Yeah, makes sense. And you mentioned that you wanted to do a lot of dev integrations, right? So could you give me some examples of that so that I could understand it a bit better?
Sure. So we had the requirement to integrate with LDAP, one of the examples, so that when it comes to assigning the approval, you can search for your immediate manager or a functional group and then do all those stuff. We already had the capability as a part of our existing platform, and we didn't want to duplicate it in two different platforms. That was one. The other thing is making a call. So when the process is done, we wanted to ensure that it kind of comes back and updates our parent system again, so that the rest of the fulfillment of the request takes care of. Those were the other kind of things that we wanted to do, and we thought when you could wrap the whole thing into a Spring application, and then write your own custom classes which can be used internally, that would be really cool. The other major thing that we were also looking at was from a UI perspective. So though we were looking at using existing BPM and notations and uploading it over here, we also wanted to give users who have not defined any of these processes a UI to leverage and then drag and drop and create it. The Camunda actually came up with a nice software that you can install called the Camunda Modeler, where you can drag and drop and create a simple workflow over there, or create any kind of a workflow over there. They also gave a JS framework called the bpmn.io, using which you could directly integrate it with your website, and you get almost all the capabilities that you have as a part of your desktop implementation on your web. And as I was mentioning, so let's say you have a bunch of tasks. At the end, if everything is approved, I want to make it a callback to my parent system, or I have to call back my parent system and tell that the approval is rejected and stuff like that. So, right. So those components, since it was a JS framework, we could customize it and then make it into you can drag directly and then put those components, so that internally translating it into an end component or a system task is done as a part of the system, and not really a headache of the user. That was something that we wanted to really drive towards, and Camunda gave us both the capabilities from the engine that is running the whole BPMN process, and also from the UI integration perspective. We also found that for Camunda, the administrative side, that is, they have something called the cockpit, wherein you see all the deployments that are there, the processes that you have and stuff like that. That was really neat. For every individual who logs in, who wants to do an approval or look at the tasks that are assigned to him, they have a separate task list, and that also had a very clear separation. And you also had a really neat way of doing RBAC. So you can add users, you can assign specific access to them, you can define the access controls and stuff like that. And it also came about with multi-tenant integration, which kind of fulfilled all of our needs.
Okay, so I think you mentioned Camunda and JBPM. Were there any other tools that you evaluated, or
yeah, we did look into something called Bonita, but Bonita did not have like a server wrappable interface that they were trying to give us, so we were not really able to leverage it. We had to install it in our local machine and do stuff. So we did a very shallow research on it, and we kind of dropped it because we thought it was not going to work for us. We were also looking at other node-based options. There was something called NoFlow, which they said would help you in building the workflow, but it was not really a BPMN 2.0 compliant, stuff like that. Yeah, and there was also one more library in Node which I am not able to. I think it was BPMN Node or something like that, but I don't clearly remember why we were not able to leverage it. It was not having all the features that Camunda was able to do. We were kind of convinced with Camunda when we tried it, and it really worked wonderfully for our use case.
Okay. So I think I might have heard about Camunda some time back, but never used it, obviously. And before this podcast, I was doing a bit of research. So can you talk a bit about how the team behind it makes money, and just to give some context around the tool? And I think there are multiple different components to it, and there is also the workflow engine, which is also open source separately, the Zeep or something.
Yep.
So if you give a bit of details around those areas, then I think there is a cloud component to it as well, what I could gather. And what is that workflow engine, which is also like a separate open source tool?
They have, the whole platform is actually open sourced. I think they are based out of Germany, and the whole platform is actually open sourced, built on top of Spring or Java, and you can run it as a JE application or a Spring application. They also provide you with cloud offering of their own platform, hosted by them and then managed by them. And that is one of the things that by which they make money. And the other thing is they also do consulting from a BPMN perspective for companies which need a BPMN. They do consulting. That's what I read about in their website as well. So at a high level, I think those are the two major ways by which they are trying to make money right now. But from a tool perspective, open source, it's really kick-ass. It's good.
It's good to know. Yeah. So once you decided that you wanted to use Camunda and go ahead, so how did your initial system look like? What was your initial setup?
Okay. So before I go there, just a small couple of things about Camunda and how the whole thing happens. So when you are trying to use when you have a BPMN file, you basically have something like an approval.bpm a BPMN file. Okay, so Camunda would give you the ability to upload this file, and once you upload it, it creates something called a deployment. Deployment is like in a Tomcat server, you deploy your application. You can have multiple applications deployed under different contexts, right? So it is something like that. So each BPM process that you're trying to deploy will be called as a separate deployment. Each deployment can have multiple services. So each service is like an instance of a workflow. For example, let's say I am having a request that requires a manager approval. So that will have a deployment called the manager approval. And when I am making a call to the request, it would create a service specific to that user's request. Okay, that's called a service. And a workflow can in turn contain multiple tasks. Okay, and each task kind of linearly executes, and once one completes, the other one goes on. So in this case, we would essentially have something called a user task, wherein the manager would go and approve that particular task. So until the manager approves, the task will kind of stay in the memory or in your database, however you would like to see it, or in the system. And once the manager approves it, it kind of goes to the next task and continues on. So that's how the overall Camunda BPM and workflow execution happens. Okay. So what we did was we leveraged the Spring Boot plugin that they had. So we kind of wrapped the whole Camunda into a Spring Boot application. We created an RDS database for it, and we did a simple ECS deployment. That's how we kind of got the Camunda system working. And when it came to integrating it between Camunda and our own system, we leveraged the APIs that they were exposing. They had a neat set of RESTful APIs. So we initially were exposing the whole Camunda system to the end user to start with, but then it did not really make sense. So we wrote a wrapper as a part of our own application, wherein it tried to the uploading of the BPMN would actually happen as a part of your as a part of the parent system. Okay, wherein you upload the BPMN or create the BPMN, and it automatically gets uploaded. And deploying it into Camunda was done using an API call. Okay, so we started leveraging the API calls to create the deployments, to create the services whenever a new request kind of came in. And we also implemented callbacks from Camunda at the end of each process to notify whether the overall process is approved or rejected. So you have a task called the service task, which can basically do RESTful calls, or actually have a Java implementation, which will make you, which will help you make a callback to your system. So that is how we initially put the system. So as it was a system which required users intervention because it's an approval system. The first challenge that we had was we had to replicate all the users that were there in the existing system into the Camunda system as well. So every time a task was kind of triggered, we would figure out if it's a manager approval that is required, or if it is a functional approval that is required, and we would give the user information back to Camunda, which will go and assign it. So the assignment would happen to the users inside the Camunda. So now what happens is if these integrations in the parent system were done based on the LDAP configurations that are there from the tenants network. So every time a new user comes in, you have to take the effort of replicating them again into Camunda. So the number of moving parts started to build up. Okay, that was a terrible thing. You will actually have a new user come in, and we want to create like onboard the user, but you will not have the user in Camunda, and you won't be able to figure out the manager of the user. These were some of the issues that you kind of end up having over there. So that was probably the first cut that we had, wherein every BPM and upload was becoming a deployment, and the creation of the workflow or execution of the workflow was handled from the parent system using the APIs.
So one question I had here was, so you mentioned that Camunda provides ability to have a drag and drop UI where people can create the BPM files, or also provides the hooks for you to create a UI as well, right? So which approach did you go with? You did mention that people uploaded BPM from the application that you had. You had both the setups, is it? Okay.
Both, yeah. You can upload if you have one, but if you want to create one, they had the ability of creating a new one wherein you gave the drag and drop. So internally, it would generate the BPM in XML format, which we just uploaded it into the Camunda system.
And your application also provided an ability in its UI to create the BPM files also.
Yeah. So ours was a Vue.js based application. Okay. So we just took the BPM and IO, added it as a dependency, and wrote a wrapper around it. It was really neat.
All right. Cool. So, and did you use some drag and drop library implementation for it?
No. The BPM.io had all of these. So, I mean, the usability that you get out of the desktop was mostly replicated as a part of the web UI as well.
Okay, got it. So, from what I'm hearing, a lot of the problems were due to the multi-tenant aspect of it, right? So, how did you start solving some of the problems that you mentioned around those deployments blowing up, managing user data and all that?
Sure. So I'll probably talk a bit about the deployment blowing up as well. So every time you upload, it creates a deployment. So if a particular tenant has like 20 different approvals, I'm just giving a number, you will have 20 deployments. You just multiply it by the number of tenants. So you're going to have m cross n number of deployments. That kind of made it crazy. So if you open the cockpit, you will see so many deployments, and you will not know which one is what. The other major point there was not all the deployments were actually used at all the point of time. Most of them were special case deployments. So something that requires an approval from the finance head was a very, very special case deployment, but you had to define the workflows for them so that when the request kind of comes in, you are able to trigger it. This was unnecessarily creating or eating up a lot of memory in the server, and we had to add additional servers and stuff like that. This was not neat. Okay. The other thing was, as I mentioned earlier, the user replication. The user replication was a bigger headache. We were getting into a lot of edge cases as a part of that. So we wanted to solve that. So we first picked the user part and then solve it. So what we decided to do was, since we already have the LDAP implementation as a part of our parent system, we thought we will just keep things very simple, like an idempotent function. You just pass input to it, it just acts on it, right? So we wanted to leverage this idea at an infrastructure level. So we thought we will give all the relevant information that my workflow requires when it needs it, and then let it work with it. Okay, so that was the strategy that we wanted to go about with. So for that, we when we were looking into the API documentation, we found that for a user task, it had something called task listeners. Okay, so a task listener is like a lifecycle hook. Okay, so you can make a code execute when it is when the task is kind of starting, or when the task is getting assigned, or when the task is ending or getting deleted and stuff like that. So so we wanted to leverage this kind of a hook. What we did was, for every user task, we defined a start task listener, which would actually carry the information of what kind of a user needs to do this activity. For example, if it's a manager, like an immediate manager of the user, then it would be like a manager approval at a level of +1. Okay, so we give a level information of 1 and the manager class name as one of the inputs. So this was added at the task start. So this would make a call back to our parent system. The callback to our parent system would essentially contain the information of the task ID, the service information, and also what kind of approval is required. So in that way, what happened was we were able to figure out which user needs to act on this, and maintain that user assignment to the specific task information also as a part of a table in the source system itself. So we had a neat table wherein it had the task ID, the assigned to, task for kind of information. So you have the task ID and the assigned to information. Based on the assigned to information, when the user kind of logs in to the UI of the parent system, he will see all the tasks that are assigned to him. He can go and act on it. So when he acts on it, it would make a call to the task specific information to either approve it or reject it. So we just used the API to an extra level wherein not just creation of the service or the workflow, but even the operation of the task, whether it is approval or rejection, was also handled as a part of the API. So all Camunda was trying to do right now was hold the workflow for us as a, I mean, it was just a holder which will help us run the overall workflow, but all the information that is required from the workflow perspective were all available as a part of the parent system. So this helped us in rescuing us from replicating the users, replicating, I mean, maintaining tenant specific segregation and all of those things out of the Camunda system, and then have it all as a part of our source system. This was our first level victory towards making it much more maintainable. The next issue that we had was we were still not solving the issue with a lot of deployments being over there. So we thought instead of us creating the deployment every time a user uploads the BPMN process, it would probably make more sense if we only create the deployment if the user needs to, I mean, if there's a request that needs to run. So for example, what we did was whenever a user tries to upload a BPMN file, okay, instead of us doing a deployment directly into Camunda, we uploaded it into an S3 bucket, okay. We took the URL of the, I mean, we generated a UUID for the uploaded one, and then we saved this information as a part of another table. So this information would get associated. So let's say it's a manager approval workflow. Manager approval workflow is going to have a manager approval.bpmn file, which is now in S3 bucket. And we would have already associated the manager approval workflow with an existing request type. Okay. So now let's say it's a request type to create an Azure SQL database, for example. In such a situation, it will have a manager approval workflow associated with it. So whenever request for the manager approval workflow comes in, that is when we would pull the information from the S3 bucket, leverage the same API integration that we had earlier with Camunda, do the deployment at that point of time, create this service for that particular deployment, and then leverage it as a part of this particular request. So what happened was each and every workflow that was getting executed had its own deployment running in Camunda. So this kind of cleared out all the other unwanted deployments that were there in Camunda, and we were able to control the deploy and the undeploy whenever the overall workflow started or completed, right? And to add to it, we also had the user information also handled as a part of the parent system, and things were like totally smooth at the end. So now it was truly like an idempotent system wherein you pass the information, it just acts on whatever information that you pass it, and it returns you back the result. So so we didn't have to worry about anything after this from even logging into the Camunda console, because it just became like a headless service for us. So it was just a container for doing the holding the workflow for us.
At any point in time during this kind of sort of like a refactoring, right, did you feel like you're not putting Camunda to the full use, or maybe because one of the things that you mentioned as advantage of Camunda is the multi-tenancy aspect of it, right? And what is the general community take on it? Because it seems like you did have to do a bit of work on top of it. Do you think these are due to limitations of Camunda, or it's due to your peculiar requirements that you had to do some of it?
It was a peculiar requirement from our end. Camunda as a system working as a multi-tenant would actually be really good. But we did not want to be Camunda administrators. We only wanted the need of the system, or our requirement need was more with respect to execution of the business process, and not really maintain a business process management system and then give that as a service to the end user, right? The need was more with respect to a workflow management system, so or execution of the workflow. And the solution that we kind of drove towards helped us in leveraging that. I did have this thought wherein, hey, you can directly do the LDAP integration, you can do multi-tenancy and all of this. But the trade-off that we were, but if you are kind of trading off all, not leveraging all the features and then sticking to just the bare bones of the Camunda running, I think it really helped us in reducing the overhead of maintenance that we were earlier facing. So, just imagine it's like a startup company which is trying to get their platform up and running, and you investing a lot of time in trying to figure out things that are not even related directly to your business is not a great idea. So when we reduce this maintenance nightmare for all the people, and we had all the data available as part of only one system, it kind of gave them the ability to make things extremely simplified. So that was the major advantage. Yes, people are going to probably criticize me for not leveraging Camunda for its full abilities, but in our case specifically, this really worked well. Yeah, that's and most importantly, we didn't have to add so many servers just to hold deployments which are not even currently being used. So it made a lot of sense in that way.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arun. I think those are all the questions that I had, and I think you have given a very detailed intro to BPM systems, Camunda, and what are the potential challenges that someone could face while trying to implement them. I think it was very useful. I have never really gone into the depth. So I think a lot of us do implement some sort of workflow systems here and there, very similar systems, but not really worked per se around BPM systems. So you've given at least me a lot of context around it, and I think in future, if the need arises, I'll come back to this podcast and get some learning from you, or even contact you sometime. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any closing comments from you?
It was really great talking in your podcast, Manoj, and thanks for the opportunity. One closing comment: yes, Ajira is recruiting. So if there's people who want challenging tech problems to solve, then we are open. Please reach out to me in LinkedIn or to Ajira channel in.
So thanks, Arun. I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn and also to Ajira's website on the podcast description.
Thank you, Manoj, and sure. I'm sorry if I am leveraging the podcast session for this advertisement.
No, you took the time to come here, so it's my turn to at least do something, right? So yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye-bye.